We're going to use chalk first, just to get the basic outline of our flower pot, and then oil pastel for the rest. We're going to go over what the analogous colors are, and those are a new color scheme we're learning about in 2nd grade. I love to use those all the time in art because real artists actually use that color scheme a lot, and the reason is because if you use that color scheme, your colors will be really vibrant. Friends. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to come down below the halfway point on our paper, and we're just going to do like a curve like this with our chalk. So this is hard. A lot of times friends in art confuse chalk and oil pastels because oil pastels and chalk pastels both have the name pastel in them. A chalk pastel is very similar to the kind that you would use outside, or just basically chalk, and it feels very chalky. Okay, whereas an oil pastel is more oily. It's like a very, very oily crayon. Okay, so now that I have the curve, this is the top of my flower pot. Now I'm going to come down. I want to have it be the same length. Try to keep it to a curve on each side like this. And I want to try my best to keep it symmetrical, but if it's not perfect, that's fine. Then what I'm going to do is, you could decide to do a straight flower pot that just kind of comes down straight like this and then curves around. But I'm going to do one that looks like this in the picture, so it kind of comes out a little bit. So I'm going to do a curve here, and then whatever I do on this side, I have to keep it as close as I can, and then I want to curve it at the bottom. So there's my flower pot. I'm going to do a line on each side of the flower pot that will represent the table. The reason why we're also doing chalk is because it's eventually it will disappear when we go in with that oil pastel. All right, so we have our flower pot done. Now what we're going to do is we are going to use those analogous colors to color my flower pot in. I'm going to pick any color that I want, and the flower pot will be 2 colors. So I'm going to go in, I'm thinking I'm going to do purple, and I want to outline it. I'm going to go right on top of that chalk just to kind of cover that up. But it's okay, you'll notice I'm being a little loose with it because the whole point with Monet's art is more focused on the color and not keeping it perfectly outlined, but we want to still see that form. So now I'm going to go in and I'm kind of going to, we call it scribbles in art, but we don't want to color in every single spot of that blue because we want to see a little bit of that blue in the background from the background paper, but I also am going to go in and mix another color on top of that purple. So some spots will look a little different. So as you notice, I kept it. Now it's almost like we're breaking the rules because normally I tell you when you color, fill in the lines, but in this case, we are not doing that. Okay, so now this is where we need to pick a color that works really well with purple because oil pastels do blend with each other a little bit. And I don't want to use a color that's going to look dark because in Monet's Impressionist art, it was all about bright colors. Even if that's not how it really looked in real life, he wanted bright colors. So we're gonna go with purple, and then what we need to do is see who's next door to purple. Unless you chose a different color, then you see what's next door to that. So I'm looking at purple and next door neighbor, not across the street, because those colors across the street are gonna get you dark colors. Just the ones that are next door. And if I'm looking at this, I have blue and red next to purple. So I'm going to pick one, not both, one of those, and I'm going to go on top of that purple with it. So I'm going to do, my paper's blue, so maybe I'll go in with the opposite. Maybe I'll do a little red. So we're going to gather some red. We're just going to kind of, you can outline with this too first if you want to, and we're not going to completely cover that purple. We're just going to go in and kind of blend a little bit of the red, and if it becomes too red, what could I do? Maybe I'm like, oh, it's really, really red now. I could go back on top with purple again if I really wanted to, and just kind of blend a little more into that with the original color. So whatever your first color was, you can always go back on top with it. All right, so I'm seeing a little of the blue background, but that's okay, that adds another layer. Now for the table, I'm just gonna do one color. I'm not gonna blend because I really want some of that paper to pop through. So I'm gonna pick a color of my choice. In this case, I'm gonna do orange. I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna do kind of like what we talked about. I'm gonna just kind of scribble it So it looks really texturally, and I'm seeing a little bit of that blue paper coming through. Go in and do the middle of our flower. We're gonna use some brown for that. So we're gonna do some circles, and we wanna spread them apart. Please do not get them too close together. So look, I have a good amount of space between each one. So let's aim to maybe do no more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No more than 7. Okay, we can always add more later. So I'm just gonna go in and make some big brown circles. Okay, and now what we're gonna do is pick any color we want for our first layer on our flowers. I'm gonna avoid blue because my background's blue, so I don't really want, you know, the same color. So I think what I'm gonna do is maybe some pink. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do these zigzags back and forth across. Now sometimes if your flowers got too close together, and I'm trying not to get into the brown too much because I don't want to pull a lot of that brown. Sometimes when your colors got too close together, what can happen is you might have a little overlapping going on. My arm is up while I'm working. I'm gonna look at my color wheel, but I'm not seeing pink. What do I need? Color should I look for if I'm using pink? Right, red, because red is just, you know, pink is just red with white mixed in. So I've got orange or purple. I think I'm gonna go in with a little bit of the purple again. You know what? I think I'm gonna do purple. And I'm gonna go just slightly on top of that pink. All right, so now we're gonna pick just one color for this step. And we're gonna go in and we're gonna do the background with just one color. So, because there's all this negative space that I have to work around, I don't wanna overdo it. So I'm just gonna pick one color, red. It does not have to be next to. And I'm just gonna be very loose with the background color and just kind of scribble in the negative space. So as you can tell, you know, I'm not completely covering up all that blue. All right, so now that we have the negative space done, what we're gonna do is you're gonna either use a white or a black pastel to help our flowers pop a little more by adding a nice contrast. So in this example, I have a really dark background, so black's probably not gonna show up as well, so I chose to use white. In this one, I'm gonna use the shade black instead of the tint. So I'm just gonna go in and I'm just gonna do a little center in each of my flowers like this. And then like the middle of a sunflower. And I'm just gonna do not a lot, just a few zigzags back and forth to help these pop out. Notice how again my arm is up. I'm not rubbing my arm against the oil pastel. Now, if you would like to, I'm going to leave this as an option. You can also use that to trace your table and flower pot if you want, or leave it the way it is. Now that we have that done, we're going to go in and do some greenery. So I'm just going to go in and kind of draw some stems coming from my flowers. They can be really thick if they need to be. Think of a sunflower. They usually have really thick stems. So this one's going to go behind that front flower, not on top of it. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is just kind of like some short little scribbles coming off of those. And these are gonna be the leaves of my flower. And now that I have that done, what I'm gonna do is just take a little bit of yellow and I'm gonna go in and kind of add a little yellow in those leaves just to add some more color. Yellow is a great material to brighten up. You can even do a little in your stems if you want, but it's great for brightening things up. Okay, friends, so there we have it. We have our nice Van Gogh sunflowers. If you have anything else you would like to add, that's fine, but we're just gonna keep it simple like that. We don't want to overdo too many colors because the background's already blue and we were pretty loose with it, so we don't want to go into that too much.